Pure, Astrea, Ryung, Solar. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. We just wrapped up a pretty exciting TVP, honestly. I mean, both Pure and Astrea played very well. Pure really impressing me, honestly, in that series. We will see if Pure does not get out first, because right now he is looking to be extremely strong. Up next, we've got Ryung versus Solar.
Yeah, Ryung versus Solar, two old school players. Ryung especially should be a very fun match here. Always love watching Ryung play, whether it be TVP, TVT, or TVZ. This is one of those guys that, you go back in the very early days of GSL and you can catch him competing in some of the first ever seasons.
Yeah, I mean, he's been old school. He's been around forever. There's times where he looks like he's improved quite a bit, but I would still put him on very much so the weaker end of players. Obviously, every new season is an opportunity to turn a new leaf. And he's going to go up against Solar, and I would say Solar is a real heavy hitter here in GSL. So I would be surprised if this is not a 2-0 in Solar's favor.
Yeah, I think Solar absolutely the favorite here. And I mean, the rap sheet on the left side speaks for itself. Top 8 at Katowice, top 8 GSL, top 4 at Summer Masters. I mean, he's so good right now. His form is impeccable. And ZBT, it's a matchup that's been, at times the longest one that we have, but we haven't really had a lot of ZBT so far this year. It's kind of hard to say exactly what the Korean meta is at.
Yeah, let's kind of unpack TVZ a little bit here. I know normally it's a matchup we cast all the time, but there was not that many Zergs in the last season of GSL and a lot of Terrans. So let's get into this match. Ryung versus Solar starting
GSL
now.
Season 2. Onside Gaming, Ryung. Onside Gaming, Solar.
Oh, cheeky build here from Ryung. And an SCV coming out already. Is this for proxy barracks?
Yeah, let's see. Well, he makes one barracks back at home, so let's see what the second SCV is really for here. Looks like it's going to wrap around from the bottom here.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's going to be two Rags Reaper with one proxied. Cool opening here. Unfortunately for him, Solar with a really good scout.
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't get worse than that as Terran, and Solar's not even hiding it. He could have kept that Overlord at the fringe of the vision and not revealed it, but he's just like, nah.
It's funny because, yeah, I was going to say, if you're fast enough, you could whip that back around, but there's really, I think, no way that this SCV can finish unless, the RNG gods are truly on this SCV's side.
Yeah, there is some micro that you can do, but it does come down to RNG quite a bit. That's too much damage on this SCV. Surprisingly, the barracks not canceled just yet.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by that, actually.
I suppose there isn't much reason to cancel it until you need those minerals to throw down the command center, so maybe he's just trying to get under Solar's skin a little bit here, but from Winnipeg, Canada.
Excellent.
Thank you for coming down.
Now, the barracks is finally canceled off there. The command center is going to start. I mean, already a pretty bad start for Ryung. You could see, it's not just that the barracks didn't finish. I mean, you can cancel it and get some of the money back, but it's the fact that you could have already developed into other stuff, right? Meanwhile, the Zerg really wasn't slowed down at all. I mean, sure, you had to send 4 drones out, but you'll always do that to stop a barracks from being made.
Yeah, and also it was his game plan here in Game 1, and, it's already been thrown off, so it does dampen things a little bit here for Ryung, but we'll see how he bounces back. It wasn't too much of a commitment. Just a little bit of idle time lost, some minerals lost on canceling the barracks as well. And, I feel like whatever game plan Ryung had, whether you open with one barracks Reaper like this or one barracks with one proxy, you're probably going to arrive at pretty much the same place, right?
So that third hatchery is coming down now. It's going to be a bit of a development race over here. We've got the factory inbound here, so it's going to be, you know, just tacking up for the time being. Nothing too crazy so far, but there's a lot of different games that Terran can create from this moment.
A really nice micro there by Ryung with this one Reaper to actually deny that creep tumor right when Solar was trying to plant it. I mean, he even had 2 queens to try and guard that position, but Ryung with just some great control there. Able to slow down Zerg a little bit. For a second, I thought that dog, or whatever that animal was like another Zergling. I thought the Reaper was going to die. I'm like, oh no, I was just talking about his control.
I wonder if the person that made this map like had a dog that looked exactly like that and just put it on the map, you know?
It's an interesting looking dog.
Now, this should be a slow game from here on out because Ryung can't really be too active on the map for a little bit here, and Solar has no incentive to try to attack into it with a Terran. Instead, you just want to try to develop as quickly as possible. Stim starting up here as Zergling speed is about halfway done, so we're really in a development cycle here for both of the races.
You're right. Ryung's just powering up back at home with these 2 barracks, taking up, getting Stim. Surprisingly, no engineering bay for him just yet. If my memory serves, Ryung usually one of those players that absolutely loves his infantry weapon, so delaying that eBay quite a bit. We'll see exactly how he decides to navigate his tech as he still is only on those 2 wrecks.
Yeah, we still don't have a great idea of exactly where Terran wants to go. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a mech game, or unless it's the weird mech switch after you got Stim or something. But
yeah, I don't think we're going to see that this one.
Whenever I see that happen, I'm like, oh, great. Well, we're going to have a really bad late game where Terran dies. I think I've cast like 1 game where that's actually worked. But we have medevacs coming out, and so we're going to have Terran be active on the map, maybe a little bit later than a normal game here. Baneling's Zest coming down here for the Zerg, as they're just going to continue to try to you know, accumulate up. And I would imagine that this is really just Solar trying to do that tightrope walk of having just enough to defend while droning up as much as possible, and not over-defending.
Yeah, and now's the point of the game where he's going to have to start pumping some Lings out to actually deflect these drops, as Ryung with Stim Pack finishing and medevacs out on the field actually has the chance to get some damage done on Solar's side of the map. So we'll see what these 2 medevacs are able to accomplish right now, roaming over towards that main base.
Okay, this is going to be spotted really early on here. This is going to be coming in just as Stim finishes.
Yep, Stim Pack is done. Medevac's now coming in, but that's a lot of Zerglings and also some Banelings morphing in as well. So Ryung probably just going to deposit these Marines right behind this mineral line and see if he can recoup and try and make something happen by the 3rd base. And Solar looks like for a moment there he was thinking about trying to get on top of those Medevacs with his queens, but decides not to venture too far off creep.
Yeah, doesn't get a lot done there, which is okay. Better to you know, pull back out than to overextend. And Ryung's going to continue to manufacture and crank out as much as possible. We never saw the 3rd CC be made. If he's going to make it, it should be soon, but it's also possible he just wants to do some kind of a 2-base play. Really good defense here from Solar, really not losing anything.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of queen energy, but the transfuses were on point, and the reinforcement Lings came in very quickly, so well played there by Solar. And with Ryung still sitting on 2 orbital commands, you got to think that a push has to be inevitable from this position, right?
He might have for a second been trying to set it up to make it look like he might expand or that he is about to expand, but this is going to be a 2-base timing. 2-base timings can be very scary. They're one of the harder things in the game to stop in many of the matchups, including this one. But if they're shut down, they're hard to recover from as well.
Yeah, there is the 3rd command center now in production in the main base of Ryung, so not fully committed with this push, but you know, being on 2 orbitals for so long, he would really like to get something done. I think Solar's going to swoop down to that 3rd base and confirm there actually is no command center there, and then try to adjust his game plan accordingly.
Okay, that's actually a really big snipe to get that many Banelings.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's no Baneling speed done just yet. I don't know if it was delayed or if this is just part of the build here for Solar. Only halfway finished researching, so
I think it's enough time that he can get it done before Terran can do anything too impactful. But whenever you see a couple Banelings shaved off before the real conflict has happened, before the real climax of that push has happened, it can be a bad sign for the Zerg.
Yeah, they're quite expensive, you know, for what they're able to accomplish. Those 14 Banes right now could be much closer to 20 as more of them morph in. And Ryung being very timid with his push as well. You know, he moved across the middle of the map, and I guess he just kind of got a sense that Solar was going to be ready for him. Solar has been sitting at around 60
He's
drones
going to siege up down here? What?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what
am I looking
is.
at? He's like hallucinating bases on the map. He's like, I'm going to push in the bottom left and kill this hatchery.
Well, Solar's going to attack into it anyway, or at least he was considering that for a moment.
mean, that's the dream of your Zerg, you're like, oh, he's just sieging up in the middle of nowhere.
Oh no, the Marines for a moment there just AFK as some Banelings get some nice connections there on the front line as the first siege tank does go down, and I think Solar surprised to see another siege tank in position over here by this base as Solar cleaning this up quite well. He's ahead now in army supply. I don't know.
What is happening right now? What is going on?
Awkward moment here for Ryung. I'm not really sure what he was trying to accomplish with that push. I mean, I guess he thought that he could anchor that position and...
What position?
I mean, it's not like he's accomplishing anything there, but I don't know. Maybe he's like projecting some power across the map and then he reinforces it later when he takes the third.
I've never seen anything like it. He picked up 2 tanks.
It is
odd. He went to a place of absolutely no value, and then Solar's so ahead he just tramples it. He just runs it over.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure.
You know, when you do a 2-base timing, I mean, you have to really get in the guy's face and start to destroy stuff. You got to punch him in the nose. You got to see what you can actually get done, because otherwise you would have been better off just getting the 3rd base and trying that same idea later on when you have more stuff.
I feel like if you showed me just the Terran's army moving across the map this game, it didn't show me their base at all, and he asked me what their build was, I'd say, oh, they went fast 3rd CC, and now they're trying to do some pressure, but it actually was the opposite. It was a very late 3rd command center here for Ryung. It's more Banelings, excuse me, catching Marines right there. As it's been not the best start here for Ryung in this series. I mean, he is stable back at home, but he just really hasn't gotten much done at all on Solar's side of the map.
The issue is that, like, really, first of all, Zergs are so good at this defenders game. Like, I've casted so many games now that I'm, like, oftentimes genuinely surprised when a Terran actually beats a Zerg with a push. At least in GSL, where I'm like, oh, wow, all right. That's incredible. And when it does happen, it's like, it's Maru or somebody like that. But to see a Terran kind of fumble and then develop slower is such a bad sign, because Zerg is going to have so much. Zerg's almost at the point where they can't make units anymore unless they attack in. I mean, we're basically at that now with 190 supply. Yes. And so, even here with Ryung, he's not very quick to pick up.
I think he's just trying to get any value that he can out of these Marines, but oh my goodness, the Hydra's sniping 3 medevacs, some of them even half full of units. As Ryung just seems like he's almost in disarray here in game number 1.
He's getting owned, man. This is brutal. That's my analysis. No, I mean, for real though. I mean,
you're right.
This is brutal. He's getting smashed.
Solar's form is looking scary good too right now. He's playing a very good game.
Well, Solar's, I think this is a very comfortable game for him too.
Yeah, he played the drone count that he wanted and was comfortable enough to, as you said, just kind of breach this position that Terran set up really in the middle of nowhere off of creep and take a cost-effective trade. And that last fight also off of creep with Hydras, with Lings, with Banes.
Yeah.
Cost-efficient there for Solar. Got a lot of really good picks. And Ryung right now, he is getting close to max, but it's not the best situation for him. He hasn't really gotten any economic damage done on Solar's side of the map. It feels like he just keeps coming in with these attempts at harassment or pushes or pressure, and Solar just parries absolutely everything. I mean, lurkers are now coming in. Hive Tech is underway. +2 melee is underway as well for those Lings. Solar, not only is he max, but he's starting to really fill out his tech tree. And this medevac as well, getting dangerously low on HP. You got to think that Ryung is going to come in for another drop, and Solar might just be able to pick that off.
Yeah, another attack in here. The Widowmine's going to get a shot off, but I think at this point in time, Solar can be pretty liberal in the fights that he has. He can exchange maybe not even the best trades and come out ahead. We do have the fresh 4th base here for Terran about to be under attack. In fact, they'll force a lift off there. And in fact, this infantry can't even defend this.
No, it's going to take more infantry than that to defend this 4th base, as they just get cleaned up by the Lings and the Banes. And Ryung is trying to make something happen on Solar's side of the map, and while he might get that base in the bottom left, there are so many other bases for Solar, all the way up to 5 bases right now, and this is why there was no bio at that 4th state list. There just isn't any bio on this side of the map here for Ryung. The Banelings connect in the 3rd base, 25 SCVs go down, Siege Tanks fell as well. Outside of the natural is, Ryung, he's doing his best to get damage done, but I mean, look at the supplies plus the bank right now for Solar. You got to think this is going to be cleaned up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, Ryung tries to lash back out, and instead he just feeds into the beast, letting Solar grow even bigger. But many ZVT, games, it really is a butterfly effect thing, where, a couple of interactions at the start can ripple in through the game onward into a position where, you know, everything that Terran's trying to do now just can't work at all. And now we have Solar, you know, with like 80% more supply, and probably going to set up for a killing blow. We have Ryung, who's reclaimed his 4th base, but only really just started mining from it. And, you know, eventually these few small attacks are going to be swatted away again, and Zerg's going to find an opening. In fact, that opening may be right now.
Yeah, Adrenal Glance is completed now for Solar, and you could see him just investing more resources into this army, not even saving up a bank, but in fact, oh, there isn't even a planetary here. I thought for sure that would have morphed. As this 4th CC is going to have to lift, otherwise it's going to get taken out, Tasteless. Ryung's attention is elsewhere. That command center, looking at the minimap, it does fall to the Lings. GG is called as Solar just seems to be on another level.
Well, I mean, it's weird. It was more than one moment where I really was scratching my head trying to figure out, look at Solar smiling.
Yeah.
I was scratching my head trying to figure out, it really, I'm not trying to be mean when I do this, but really try to understand what is Ryung doing? Like, the barracks is spotted, okay? Doesn't cancel it right away, right? Doesn't say, okay, I mean, like, is Solar really gonna not send 4 drones? I don't know. And even when the SCV was chased off, it just was there for a while. Then he does this push, and it's just weird. He's like sieging up tanks so far out.
It felt like the build really kind of fell off the rails right there from the early game.
Yeah,
I mean, what did he accomplish with the order of how he built the structures? Like such a late 3rd CC, you got to think you're setting up for a push on 2 bases.
Yeah.
Right? Get some damage going, get some pressure done. Wasn't really able to do anything.
2023 GSL Season 2. Onside Gaming, Ryung. Onside Gaming, Solar.
Okay, so I got my fingers crossed for Ryung here that he's going to have a better game. It can happen to anybody. Your proxy gets spotted. You know, it is easier to hide proxies in StarCraft 2. It's why they let you build everywhere on pretty much all maps. StarCraft 1 maps, they actually restrict a lot of where you can build, but there's not as many places or you start out with less workers, so there's less ways to find that, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he was spotted, and it seemed like Plan B wasn't very planned out.
Yeah, the follow-up just didn't really seem very cohesive there for Ryung. You got to think that in this game, there's going to be a better game plan coming out from the Terran. If he does decide to stick on 2 CCs for an extended period of time, the push has to be a little bit better. It has to be able to get something done. It has to be able to at least slow down the creep spread, which, you know, is the bare minimum of what one of those pushes can do, and Ryung really failed to accomplish even that in the previous game. And, you know, part of that is also that Solar, yes, he scouted the proxy, but also he played a very strong style back at home. He stayed, you know, low on drone count, had a lot of queens, leaned very heavily into the Ling Banelings, did not try to take up into roaches or go too quickly into lair. And so he had a lot of units out on the map, and that is kind of his style in TVZ. I feel like the game that Ryung tried to play is what Solar's comfort zone kind of is in this matchup, and that can't be the play that Ryung goes for again here in game number 2. I think he has to mix it up, maybe try a little bit more greed, and then play more of a parade push style of Terran, because Ryung's TVZ in the past, when he does play that style, which, you know, more of a macro-focused play, he's looked really good. He's taken games off of some of the best Zerg players in the world.
Yeah, he's definitely had his moments. Ooh, that was close. Almost lost that drone. Yeah, very good control here by Solar. But, you know, it does seem like occasionally Ryung, I don't know. I mean, things kind of backfire for him, for lack of better words. This is definitely a game that's more in the realm of a textbook macro game. So, you know, usually if you can play a really good sequenced build out and not miss anything, and control your army well, you can find opportunities later on. Even then, I mean, I don't think that a player like Solar is ever going to die to a 2-base push. Unless the map is very, very exploitable.
It's tough to kill a Zerg like him. He's very ferocious, especially in the early game. And he's so good with lings and main lings too. He's excellent at getting surrounds and just, you know, navigating the dangerous portions of any matchup really, whether it be ZVT or ZVP.
Yeah, doing damage and then running back away and kind of getting out.
Oh, Fusion Core. Okay, this is more of the Ryung that I know.
Cool.
With the cheeky builds.
Yeah. So we're probably going to have a battlecruiser come out here. Let's see which kind of battlecruiser build this is. There was a period when battlecruiser builds were everywhere for a little bit in the matchup, and then they sort of didn't go away, but they just kind of became another build, another toolkit, another tool in your kit, I should say.
Oh, and is that's the second starport. So it's going to be two starport battlecruiser, and in fact, we actually don't have any Marines in production at all. Just the one on the map.
So this has not been that common lately. We haven't casted as many TVZs lately, but when battlecruisers, when people figured out you can kind of send these out, and then because you can recall them, as long as they're not killed off, they just will always get value. You just fly over Zerg's base and drones and overlords and queens and everything else gets killed. But, you know, Zergs are pretty good against this now. And, you know, this is one of these strategies where, like, you know, I think Zergs have solved it pretty well, as long as they're not being greedy and cutting corners. You know, there's not that many ways to chump BCs into their base, right?
Right. I mean,
So,
you just kind of do it, and then if they play like Solar with 8+ queens, actually he's continuing to build them, so might even get into double digits here. And have Spore Crawlers the way that he does, you got to think that whatever harassment comes out of these battle cruisers, it's got to be mitigated. But keep in mind, this is 2 starport out of Ryung, so he might be leaning very heavily into the BC side of this. You know, sometimes we see these Terrans, they'll make 1 battle cruiser, maybe maximum 2 of them, and then try to transition out of that. Just get some harassment, get some map control, and then change their game plan. But for Ryung, it seems like he's really focusing specifically on the Sky Terran. It might even be going mech in this one, as we still have no Marines being produced, all these minerals getting pumped into BCs. Hellion's also on the ground. Yamato cannon coming out as well.
Yeah, and so we had some builds where it was 1 BC, some others where it was 3, but there's also a style where you just keep making them, right? Definitely, you can't lose any BCs when you do this, right? I mean, obviously, you probably shouldn't lose any BCs ever if you're going to go for them because they're big and expensive, but if this is like the thing you're making, if 1 or 2 get picked off, you will basically lose the game in the long run, because Zerg, they just need to get 1 or 2 BCs picked off, and they could always outpace you.
Yeah, and Ryung is banking them too, so he's going to wait until he has 2 or maybe even 3 battle cruisers before he actually teleports into the main base of Solar. And behind it, he's building a 3rd command center, so he's planning on gearing up for the longer game here. And Solar seems like he has a very good read as well on what is going on, or at least he's preparing for every eventuality. And now the BCs are here. Spire already halfway done, so Corruptor is eventually going to be in production here for Solar, and let's see how much damage these VCs can actually accomplish. 3 drones and a queen already going down. But as the queens reinforce, that damage is going to pile up, and you got to think that from this point on, with the queen energy being what it is, it'll be difficult for Ryung to find any more kills.
Yeah, I mean, Ryung has done some decent damage so far. We've got Lings chasing these Hellions. It looks like they are going to get in there and actually do a decent amount of damage. Oh my god! It's so low!
It's very low HP, but I mean, even that small meter is like 60 HP though, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of queen shots to kill that. BCs are tanky, so Ryung not in too much trouble, but these Hellions, oh, actually the Reaper is still alive. I was really confused by that grenade for a moment there.
It looked like the Banes were doing synchronized swimming for a second. They all fan out in that one direction. He's going to come back in. He can get some damage. As long as the BC doesn't die, it's fine.
Yeah, I think he's just going to babysit that 1 BC up here. He wants to get the Yamato and then maybe TP out. But it's a little bit scary with this many queens up here in the main base. As Yamato comes in, gets the 1 kill.
Is there something under that?
I actually don't know. I'm looking at the mini-map.
Is Zergling under there?
I don't think he got.
I don't feel like you ever like move the CC over there and just don't do land. Like you don't complete the action, right?
I mean, there has to be something under it, right? BC's getting more damage than over here at third base. You know, Solar, he has 11 Corruptors in production, but the BCs have gotten a lot done, actually.
Yeah, he's going to send one back now.
All right, Corruptors now out on the field. Most of the Yamatos have been used. I wonder what the cooldown is on all these BCs. Okay, so this one right here with a low HP. Both of these, in fact, have a long cooldowns to go, so these both might fall.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Again, when you start to lose a couple of BCs, which just happened now, it's hard to reaccumulate in any way that would get you ahead.
Yeah, with no turrets on the ground either, this is a scary position. Actually, that's Command Center might need to lift off.
I know.
He's trying to run away.
Oof. He's like, well, I better land this instead. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I guess he thought he can get away in time. And oh no, the Wallen also is down. The SCVs are trying to transfer, so all these Lings are going to get into the natural expansion here and start wreaking havoc on this mineral line as Corruptors continue to go to town on these BCs. All these SCVs falling tasteless. 15 already going down. We might have double digits. Or double digits, obviously we have double digits. We have 20 plus falling as the damage is really stacking up, and I think Ryung just realizes that...
Yeah, well that was a train wreck of the game.
Oof.
But, you know, it's two different players in two very different places. I'll just put it like that. I appreciate Ryung actually trying a very different idea there. But, you know, there was some judgment calls I think that were questionable, you know. You have to have an escape route and not just an entry point when you use BCs. You have to figure out how to get them back home and repair them. If you're going to go double starport, the goal is to get up to, like, you know, 6 or 8 or more BCs, and it's just this wrecking ball on the map, but he wasn't able to keep them alive.
All right, guys, we're going to be back after this short break. When we return, Cure versus Solar in the Group D winners match.